Good morning. Welcome back. Have you ever looked and walked through the thrift store and looked at a curtain and said, "Oh, I really like that fabric. Not sure I would buy it as a curtain, but I really like the fabric." That's what I did one day. I was at the thrift store and I found this single panel curtain and I just really liked the design. I liked how there was a solid strip in between the floral strip. And I love the colors. And I just thought, I'm gonna buy that. So I did. I bought it and I detached the lining. And the lining, fortunately for me, is 100% cotton. So I got two things for the price of one. And I think I only paid $1.99 for this panel. So $1 for this fabric and $1 for this fabric. Now, here's the fun part. I measured it, and this measured 48 inches, wonderful, by the width, and the length was 140 inches. But anyway, what am I going to do with this panel? I'm going to make a lap quilt with this curtain panel. And I'll still have plenty of fabric left over to make other things. I've changed positions within the company that I work with. And I'm still with the same company. I was a universal banker working in the branch, and now I work in the back office in account services. So I'm in a cubicle. And for those of you who work in an office style setting in a cubicle, you know that the cubicles can be very monotone. Usually the cubicles are a tan color, a beige color, or some type of gray. This cubicle is a light gray. So I can go into my cubicle and decorate it any way I want, as long as it doesn't conflict with the office decor or conflict with company policy. So hence, I'm going to make a lap quilt for myself to brighten up my chair, hang it over the back of my chair. And also when my legs get cold, we're heading into the summer season. If the air conditioning is too hot that day, too cold that day, I can always cover my legs in my lap. With that being said, welcome back to my channel. Here we go. I ironed and I used a very hot steam iron. I ironed the first side of the backing fabric and then I flipped it over and I ironed the second side. I don't know what it is about ironing fabric, but it's very relaxing for me, prepping fabric when I'm getting ready to make a quilt. I find it rather enjoyable. So here I'm getting ready to iron the quilt top. And I iron the front and the back. Because this is going to be one piece, I want it to be nice and smooth. It's such a beautiful afternoon out. It's nice to have the ironing board on the back porch. Because this is a small lap quilt, I'm using the pillowcase method where you layer the batting first, then you lay the top right side up. You lay the backing right side up, and then you lay the top so that it's facing the backing, so that they are right sides together. You pin it all the way around, and then you stitch all the way around, leaving an opening, and then you trim and you turn it inside out. I call it the pillowcase method. There might be another term for it. I just thought that because of the size of the quilt, this would be a little more manageable and a little more practical. So I'm just laying out the batting here and the backing and making sure everything is smooth before I lay the top down. So here I folded the quilt top in quarters, and I lay it in the top corner, unfold it once, and then unfold it again until it's laid out, and then I just sort of readjust it to make sure that the top is in position so that the top and the backing and the batting are lined up nicely. When you're doing this method, you want to pin all the way around. Choose one side where you want your opening to be. And the opening was approximately, I would say about 12 or 14 inches wide. You want to have it wide enough where you can pull the right side out and be able to get your hand in there to adjust. So I'm pinning now all the way around, and I just stitched a 1/4 inch. It's such a beautiful day today. The weather's pleasant and the sun is shining. It's a nice spring day. It's a nice day to do some sewing. I'm still using my kitchen right now to sew in. I'll be prepping my back porch soon. I want to get things cleared out back there, a little more organized before I move my sewing machine back there. I really enjoyed being on the enclosed back porch last summer and last spring. The natural light's very nice, but right now it's still a little early in the season. It's still getting a little cold at night, and I don't want to have my sewing machine back there at night just yet. But right now the kitchen will do. It works. It functions. I just need to take some time to set up my machine. My daughter borrowed my machine for a couple of weeks to do some sewing for a school project and for local theater production that she's been working on. It takes some time to set up the machine, doesn't it? Let's get started sewing. When you start stitching, you want to make sure to backstitch to hold those stitches tight. And when you get to the end where you're leaving the opening, you want to make sure to backstitch at the end as well. This way, when you're pulling the quilt right side out, you're not losing any stitches while you're doing that. And I'm just sewing, I'm doing a 1/4 inch, but it's more of a generous 1/4 inch all the way around. And then when I'm finished, I'll trim the batting and the backing down, and then I'll also trim my corners. I'm just going to speed this up a little bit. Make sure when you do this method to take out all your pins, especially if you're doing a baby quilt. This is a good method for a smaller quilt, but just pay extra attention. As a matter of fact, when I was turning mine inside out, I think I accidentally left a pin in and I had to go back and take it out. So yeah, whether you're making a lap quilt for yourself or a quilt for someone else, just please be careful. I think this is the fun part where you turn it inside out. Take your time when you do this. You want to make sure to try to push out all the points, try to push out all the seams. And I'm taking a straight pin and I'm trying to pull out those corners as best that I can to make them nice and pointy. That's what's so nice about this method. The inside out method, once you get it turned inside out, you already have your quilt sandwich. Now what's left to do is try to get those edges nice and smooth. So what I'm doing now is making sure that the batting is laying nice and flat. And of course I'm shaking it out, spreading it out. The edges on this type of a method where the top and the bottom meet can sometimes curl inward. So I'm just using a straight pin and I'm pulling that seam out so that it's as extended as possible so that it's nice and flat. Once you get that done, I top stitched all the way around a scant 1/4 inch, and that helps give the edge a nice flat smoothness, and it also encloses your opening where you turned the quilt inside out. So that's what I'm doing here. I did basic straight line quilting on this type of a quilt. Trying to find my thread. Where'd it go? Well, it's finished. The same morning that I started the video, I finished the quilt. And here it is. And it's the perfect width for a little lap quilt. It is, I measured it, approximately 35 inches by 44 inches. So when I'm sitting, there's a little bit of a fold at the bottom of my feet. And the width is right here. So I think that'll work well. And I can fold it like at the top so that it just reaches the top of my shoe. I think it'll be a perfect size for when I'm sitting at my desk, and when I'm not using it, I can drape it over the back of my chair and it won't drape down to the floor because, like I said, it's a lap quilt. So for one morning's worth of work, I got a lap quilt. I'm very pleased with how it turned out. Let me know what you think. Try it. It was a nice morning to spend sewing. It won't win any awards. It won't end up hanging on the wall of a museum. But it will serve its purpose. I think it turned out lovely. I think it's going to be a nice, colorful addition to my cubicle, and I thoroughly enjoyed putting it together. Please try it. It was a lot of fun. It's going to be great to serve its purpose, and it's going to bring a nice splash of color to my cubicle. So thank you for joining me this morning. Have a great day.